Welcome to the Art of Making Home, where we unveil the secrets of the home building industry from a contractor's point of view with Sandro Stefanucci of Abstract Homes.
Hello, beautiful people. It's Sandro Stefanucci from Abstract Homes and Renovations. So glad you can join us on the podcast today. Today, we're going to be talking about aging in place. What is aging in place? The stats recently were released for the Canadian Home Builders Association that said that almost 100% of people that responded to the survey, 65 years and plus, want to live in their homes as long as they possibly can. So here today with us to discuss this is Dr. Art Hister. Thanks, Art, for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure, Sandro.
Art, I just want, obviously you guys, the listeners don't know that we did a renovation, age-in-place renovation for Art and Phyllis a few months back. Art, I just want to ask you, like, in your experience as a doctor, you know, let's start from that point. I just think about people that may have not done something earlier and have had consequences, whether they have fallen or broken something, or, you know, even worse, have died from that, and not basically adapting their home to fit their needs, rather than the person adapting themselves to the home, even though they have different needs, right? So maybe you can walk us through that process.
Well, you know, the sad truth is that none of us think we're going to get older, and we think it's going to happen 30 years down the line, and all of a sudden, you're in your 60s or 70s, you say, oh, geez, I'm old. And your balance isn't as good, and your sensory system isn't as good, and
right.
You realize, you read all these statistics, they scare the hell out of you. Oh, you know, 1/3 of people over the age of 60 or 65 fall every year. If falling is not a minor issue, it's not only can you break a limb, you can get a head injury. It's a real big thing for people as they get older. So it's important to accept the fact that you're getting older, which is very hard to do. You know, nobody stays as young as you forever, but, you know, most of us do get older, and it's important to accept that and to make plans for it. It took us a while to do that. We looked around for a long time to try to buy another home that was all on one level, because we realized that the knees are okay now, but
right.
You know, 15 years down the road, they're not going to be nearly as good. You're not going to want to climb 2 floors, and we decided that the best thing for us, at any rate, was, after looking at all these alternates, to just stay at home and see if we could renovate our home so that we could stay there.
Right.
And it's been a blessing. I mean, it's only been about a year, but we love it.
Yeah, great. So where did you, if you don't mind me asking, where else did you look other than Vancouver? Did you look out of Vancouver?
No, we just looked in Vancouver. We wanted to be in Vancouver. We came out here 50 years ago. I didn't know where Vancouver was. I grew up in Montreal. Toronto was the end of my world. I mean, if you went to Toronto, you were going all over the world. And
right.
Phyllis decided that she wanted to come out here. And I thought, well, you know, if I want to stay married, I'm going out to Vancouver. And once we came out here, we fell in love, and our grandkids live in Seattle. My other son lives in Victoria, so we didn't have much choice. We had to stay in the Lower Mainland.
Right, so you need to stay in Vancouver. Yeah, and I know Vancouver is very limited in options. You know, in the Valley, you know, you'll find properties with ranches. We call them ranches. I've built many ranches back in the day, but that's like not great use of land, especially here in Vancouver, because when I grew up. So that was obviously a limiting factor for you.
Yeah, and the other factor to take into account, and I do this as a doctor, is looking at it as you get older, you're going to require all sorts of services. Now, sure, I suppose you can get them in sea shelter, or you can get them out in the valley, but it's a lot easier if you're around a major center. And
yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely.
For those services too. So let's get to the point where you've thought, okay, I got to do something with. You come to that conclusion. I can't find anything else that's on one level.
Yeah. So
what was your thought on that, as far as like?
Well, we called you. we weren't sure what's involved. We knew that. That seemed at that point in our lives to make the most sense. Could we do it? And if we could do it, how comfortable could it be? I mean, you're changing all sorts of things. You're planning on not using the stairs nearly as much. So are you going to shift to where you work? And we still do work, both me and my wife. And we had to think all that through, and we approached you, and we came up with a plan. And I must say, for us, it's worked really well.
Yeah, that's great. So as I understand it, it was a referral from the neighbor
Yes, that's right. We asked, we saw your truck hanging around the neighborhood, taking up all the parking for months and months.
Yeah.
I called our neighbor, the Enrique, and said, "What the hell's this guy? What's he doing here? He's got this truck parked here." And he said, "No, he gave you a really high recommendation, and so did his wife, and we decided to act on it, and it worked out."
That's great. So obviously you had thought about it, and you had a space that we could take and raise the floor up and level it with the main floor area.
Yeah, we had a problem in our house. We had a real dropped room, and we weren't sure if that could be converted. And that's what that was what was involved with your plan. I got to say this though, one of the things that was a real eye opener to me, it's going to be a real eye opener to anybody who does this, is when we start talking about fitting wheelchairs through doors. We're very vigorous. We do a lot of hiking and walking. And every time we sat down with somebody and said, "Well, will this accommodate a wheelchair?" And I thought, "Oh, geez, I don't want to go there." But in fact, it's something that, again, you have to accept. Eventually, that might be a need. And better do it before you need it, because if you wait too long, you won't be able to do it.
There's things that I have to consider as a builder. For one, we've done renovations on homes before for adaptability purposes and wheelchair and so forth. So my mind's always going into, like, can a wheelchair get through here? If the person has to get into a wheelchair, like, you're not in a wheelchair now, and, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll be in a walker, but that's probably the biggest issue any project would have is, are the doors wide enough to fit a chair through it, right?
Sure.
So that was a major concern, and we were able to get that with how we did it. And I think the hardest one was the new entry from the kitchen into the new space, right?
Yeah.
We made that one work, so it'll just fit a wheelchair through there, which is great. So
yeah, you also have to think about, this more than me, it's your business, but you have to think about what kind of flooring you want to walk on. And that was a real concern. In the bathrooms, what kind of things you end up eventually maybe needing, a hand to get out of a shower, to get out of a bathtub. We do not have a bathtub. Everybody talked me out of that. I love having a bath every day, but as long as I can hang on to my third floor bath, I will, but eventually I had to give that up.
Right, yeah. So considerations, again, is mobility-wise, and even now, designing the accessibility for the future as well. And I think you're pretty much set up on that too. Also, we're looking at exiting. So even if somebody had to come in and put you on a gurney and take you out, we have...
See, there you go again. Yeah, somebody's going to put me on a gurney. I'm not there yet, but yeah, we do. We did. We changed the backyard. You helped us with some ideas about how we could access the back door and go out that way, and
right,
and all that.
Yeah. So I mean,
you don't think of those things when you're sitting down, but there's so many elements of this. You really need somebody who knows what they're doing, as opposed to somebody who says, "Hey, that's a great idea. Let's do it. It's my first one." You want somebody with experience for these things.
Yeah. So in your mind, always that's very important to have somebody.
It's essential.
Right.
It's essential. There were so many things we didn't think of that you and the people who helped design it made us consider, and made a big difference.
Yeah. So key for me is surrounding myself with the team that we need to get the best product for our customers and for what their needs are. But also for me, I'm always thinking about the worst case scenario in that house, and if we can maybe put elements in there that don't need to be actually utilized, but in the walls now, which is very inexpensive to put, if your lumber, even the infrastructure as far as the, wiring and different, Cat 5 cables and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's in there that's set to go, but isn't finished off yet. That would be able to come in handy. Say if you're in a bed where you're in the bed stationary, you can have intercom, you can have your connections there right in your bed, and emergency call or whatever it may be. So those things are not super expensive and easy to do, right?
And again, you need somebody who's done it before, who thinks that way. To me, that's a given.
Yeah.
If you're going to have surgery, you don't want the guy who's just finished interning. You want the guy who's done a few of these jobs before. That's the way it works.
Yeah. So you've seen that interacting with, designer.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing that was an issue for us too, and it went on and on, is how do you deal with City Hall? How do you deal with all these permits? Again, you need somebody who knows how to negotiate their way through that mess.
Right.
That was an endless process. That was not fun.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think depending on the renovation and what needs to get done, the time frame could change dramatically. Like for an apartment, there's usually you can get a turnaround pretty quickly on a permit to do that, right? And for those that are listening, yes, you do need a permit to do, especially do alterations. If you're touching a firewall, an exterior wall, a structural wall, you're adding to the plumbing, which a lot of that we did. So you need a permit to do that. Don't let that scare you from doing the right thing and getting a permit for your project. The process, for us, it was a bit challenging with our particular place because, we found some issues with the previous homeowner that had done some work there that was extremely.
Would you describe him as a cowboy?
Yeah.
You did several times. Yeah. But you know what? I got to give you credit there. You negotiated that as well, I think, as it can be, and it really it ended. I didn't think it ever would, but it did.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to anybody listening to the podcast that might be, 65 plus or something? That
I don't even think you have to wait that long. I mean, it depends on your health. Some people should do it in their 50s. If you want to stay in your house, you have to start planning on how you're going to adapt your space. We have another home that we own, and it's the same story. We have to start figuring out before we're unable to access it as well, what are we going to do to make it more accessible and more easy for us to stay in it before we have to turn it over to the next generation, which I don't want to do that quickly. So,
right.
It's very important to consider that, and it can be done. And we lived in our house while you were doing this. I got to give you credit there too. It was really done with a respect to the space we were still occupying. I don't think maybe there were a few days that we couldn't stay. I don't think there were even any of those. We went away regularly, but that was our choice.
I don't think so.
No, we could stay there the whole time. That's really important. We kept using our kitchen. We kept using our facilities. So, all that matters a lot, and you have to think about that. So
right.
If you want to stay there, how long is it going to be? How's it going to put you out?
Mm-hmm.
All those kind of things.
Every room has to have thought in it for that purpose. Bathrooms, the cabinets are built a certain way in height and so forth.
Yeah, because we're short. You have to have I want to start getting up on a step stool to get my pants.
Right.
So,
and even
it's all built in well.
Yeah, and just even having enough room in the bathroom to actually swing a wheelchair around.
Yeah.
People forget that. Like you can get it through the door, but if you can't turn it around, that's a real problem too, right? Those things.
The other thing that again was a great idea of yours. Phyllis uses it. I don't, but you've got a washer dryer in a unit. We don't have to go into the basement. I still do because I like the washer machine better. But she uses it upstairs, and she really likes it. So
yeah, because we're limited on space there,
Yeah.
So they do make a combo washer and dryer, and a condensing unit. So you don't even have to put a hole in the wall.
No.
And you can just put it pretty much anywhere. Obviously, you need power for it. So
honestly, I mean, if I were pushed, I can't think of any drawback we've run into. Maybe there will be one. It's been a year.
Mm-hmm.
But so far we live in the space. We like it. It's comfortable. I think for us, one of the problems was distributing heat around the house. And that's still a bit of an issue. The house is not in other areas as warm as it used to be. Our space is unbelievably cozy. But in order to make the rest of the house really cozy, we had to sort of compromise because we had issues about how much distribution of heat there could be. So we had to compromise a bit on the ventilation. And so one of the rooms is not as warm. But the rest of the house is fine. And we put a We put out, what are those things called?
The HRV.
The HRV upstairs, and, that works very well.
Yeah, and we did talk about that. But also when we talk about accessibility, we also talk about, healthy home. So, obviously budget, we have to be conscious of the budget as well. But, we couldn't put ERV or HRV. As people don't know, they are either heat recovery ventilator or energy recovery ventilator. So ventilation provides fresh air for the occupants in the home, especially as we start building homes tighter and tighter. It's very important that the air quality is really good in the home, because you can get really sick real easy. I mean, we dealt with COVID, and a lot of the issues were with poor ventilation. Sure. And seemed to. Now
we had all the wildfires this summer and all that, and was really neat. We kept the windows shut, kept the ventilation system on, and was. Right. I have asthma, as you can tell. I'm hoarse, partly because of the medication I have to use for my asthma, and I didn't. Thank God, did not have a problem this summer at all, despite the air quality.
Right. Yeah, it's good. So with Art, I was thinking, and Art telling me that he had asthma, and myself knowing about, indoor air quality, and just being in building high performance homes, knowing about that air quality, indoor air quality and stuff like that. So we couldn't get a big enough HRV, to do the whole home. But what we could do is put a smaller HRV and just do where it's important in Art's bedroom, right? And
which we no longer use, but it's very cozy up there.
Yeah, no, but in the space that we have created for you, in the bedroom there, that bedroom on the main floor, now that's where the HRV, that's where the vent is. So obviously it takes fresh air outside, brings it in, circulates it, and gives you fresh, clean air. And then recirculate air. So I think you probably it's might be, I noticed it right away, because I was born with asthma too, and we put one in our home. I noticed it within a few months. I noticed my breathing and even my sleep quality was a little bit better. I don't know if you noticed the difference in that, but I know that they actually work, and if you keep them running all the time, they will help with the breathing and just getting that good air quality.
Yeah, no, it was like I said, through the wildfire season, it was a pretty long one this year. So
right.
It was really cool.
Right. So the comprehensive look at the overall picture. Also, we're looking at colors too. And I know you guys went more to a whitish color on the inside, but also I think about...
Not us guys, my wife.
Your wife, right? So, I mean, I try to pick more colors that bring the mood up. And also, I mean, you as a doctor too, I guess you know that when you're talking about colors on a wall, it has a big influence on your mental health, does it not?
Oh, I think everything in the house does. I think the ease of getting from your bed to some other space that you want to occupy, it all plays a role in how comfortable you feel, how safe you feel, how relaxed you feel. And no, for us, it worked out. I don't know if everybody can get the same compact, efficient use of space and for themselves, but we certainly have. It's a delight. I was not. I won't say I was skeptical. I didn't know how it would work, and I thought, oh well, we're going to have to stay here. It'll work, and it's worked better than certainly much better than I thought it could. It has. It just does work for us.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, obviously the numbers are showing that there's going to be a lot of seniors out there in a little while, and I know from a previous experience with a friend of ours who had a motorcycle accident, getting even occupational therapists,
sure,
and finding people that actually know how to do this kind of work. There's not that many people across Canada that can do the work. So, and it's going to be a need coming up. So, I think this is great. There's lots of good little tidbits in here. So, I would say, obviously, finding somebody. Don't wait till it's too late.
Don't wait till it's too late, and anticipate that you're going to need it long before you think you will. I mean, if God is kind and everything works out, you'll never need it, or it'll be 30 years down the road, and you'll say, why did I do it so soon? But you won't regret doing it. I mean, what's the downside? We live on one floor, basically. Now, I still use the upstairs for other things, but I don't have to. I can basically live on one floor, and there's a real comfort in knowing that. And a couple of weeks ago, we were hiking. I twisted my knee. And I don't have to climb the stairs if I don't have to. So that's nice to know. And It's not going to get better as I get older.
Right.
It can only get more, it can only lead to more problems. And it's nice to know that we've anticipated it. And this should keep us safe and protected.
Right. So don't do it. Don't wait. Don't wait.
Find somebody who knows what they're doing.
Find somebody who knows what they're doing. I think are probably the two main takeaways from this. So,
and when you're doing it, decide on what's really important for you. I mean, if the sleeping space is by far the most important, do that first, and then do something else. You don't have to do it all at one shot.
That's a good point to make there too. Yeah, it can be done. Eventually or something, independent on how the budget, what kind of budget you have. So that'll help you determine what's most important and do it from there if there's budgetary restraints on that. So that's great, Art.
No probs.
Thanks so much for joining us today on our show.
Well, the big bucks you pay me, how could I say no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. It's lots of valuable insights. That's great. Thank you.
My pleasure.
For everybody listening to the podcast, we invite you to subscribe to our channel. You can get it on Apple, Spotify, and your favorite media places. And please leave reviews for the podcast. We just want to know if you're finding these podcasts valuable. We really just want to educate people. Is our heart behind this. And again, thanks, Art.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Art of Making Home with Sandro Stefanucci from Abstract Homes. Listen to the podcast on all your favorite players as well as here on YouTube.